welcome back. This is the end of our day of filming. At this point in time, if you've been with us over the last period of time, we've covered a variety of topics. At least today, by the time you're seeing them, several months, and one at a time. But we wanted to end our day of filming and end this series for the time being a little bit more informally than maybe we have, discussing some of the elements that
because we've been so formal all day long. You mean?
Well, yeah, it's not our style, but touching on some of the things would be a little bit more along the lines of if we could maybe go back and do it again, or the things that we may consider, or maybe some of the more off the cuff things that we didn't have as scripted today that maybe we could go back through. So on the way over here, because we're at dinner now, if you couldn't tell, in the amazing Miami area, we discussed elements about our domestic help and what that looks like. Maybe that's a good jumping off point. We also, I think, and also
staff, culture,
and what it means to have a team of people in your corner. Because at the end of the day, whether you wanted to build a $500,000 a year practice, $1 million, $2, $3, $5, $10 million a year practice, you can't do it on your own. So what does it take to do that? And so maybe we just start there, just in general, comprehensively.
So
team.
You keep saying practice, and I haven't really said anything. I think it's important to make a distinction between a lawyer has a practice. An entrepreneur owns a law firm that employs lawyers, each of whom has their own practice. So we're not really talking about building a $500,000 practice or $1 million practice or a $10 million practice. We're talking about building a $10 million, $20 million, $5 million, $1 million, $500,000 business that employs business that happens to provide legal services. And, the owner of this restaurant may or may not be an amazing chef. We don't know, right? You don't have to be an amazing chef to own an amazing restaurant. You can employ an amazing chef and not know how to cook. The legal industry, at least for the time being in most states, and this is changing, requires you to at least be licensed to practice law to own a law firm. And so it's understandable why lawyers, they tend to confuse the business and the practice as if they're really the same thing, and they're not. So I think the first thing is just to
separate the jargon or the vernacular.
Well, just to clarify people's thinking, right? Because particularly if the person watching this doesn't employ or has never employed several attorneys, they might not really be making a distinction between the business and the practice. And that's really kind of where a lot of the problems that we've been talking about all day start.
So let's use that. So team, perhaps we got the at least vernacular around the business of providing legal services. Yeah. But we jumped in with the topic of team. So
for example, professional chefs.
Yeah.
They have their own knives.
Yes.
A professional chef who comes to work in this restaurant is expected to bring their own set of knives and culinary tools. And when they leave this job, they take those knives with them. Those are their tools of the trade. A lawyer brings their practice with them from one firm to the next to the next. They bring their practice with them, but the firm doesn't own the practice. The firm employs the lawyer who has their own practice.
Yeah.
You follow what I'm saying? Yeah. And then that brings a whole other conversation about how do you hire attorneys. And I know this is something that a lot of your insureds are worried about if they don't employ lawyers right now. One of the things I guarantee they're worried about is, what if I hire a lawyer and then they take all my clients? And we can talk about that and how to prevent that from happening. That's
a huge concern. Let's cover that in a minute, because I think we originally broached the entire thing around the idea of just like team in general, and what are you hiring for? We discussed earlier, are you hiring for like skills or capability, or is it attitude?
100% attitude. I mean, not 100. 100% attitude is my priority. I'm not saying attitude is the only thing that matters. My main priority is attitude, 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 cultural fit, values alignment. Do they get excited about the mission of my business?
How's their energy?
Do they have an energy that's going to fit in with the rest of the team? Is this a person that I like? You know, if I don't like the person, I don't care how great they are. I'm not going to hire them because, you know, sooner or later in every business relationship, really every relationship, there's going to be a misunderstanding. There's going to be a problem. The person's going to do something that disappoints you or frustrates you or pisses you off. And so often, it's the fact that you like the person that makes you predisposed to give them the benefit of the doubt. And if you don't like the person, you're not predisposed to give them the benefit of the doubt. And, you know, if you don't give them the benefit of the doubt this time, it goes a little this way. And they don't give them the benefit of the doubt next time, it goes a little bit more that way. And then the next time, and the next time, and the next thing you know, the relationship breaks. And, you know, for anyone who's watching this and you're thinking, well, I would never do that to another person. Well, that's great. You're a better human being than most. But let's talk about the person you hire who, if you don't like them, chances are they don't like you, even if they do a good job of faking it, right? And so they're not going to give you the benefit of the doubt. And then they don't give their coworkers the benefit of the doubt. And next thing you know, you got a whole bunch of people working for you who don't give each other the benefit of the doubt, and you got all kinds of drama. And my number one rule in my life is no drama. No drama at home, no drama in my business, no drama with my members, with my clients, no drama.
Well, drama is like a life suck. It takes the energy out of it, takes the fun out of it. It is a force, you know, multiplier for the negative.
Drama doesn't add value to relationships. It extracts, it sucks value out of relationships. So anyway, no drama. Number one rule. No, it's the number one rule in my house. That's actually, we were talking about our domestic staff, and that's really how that conversation started. In my home, the number one rule is no drama. No one on my domestic staff at home can be a drama person. I don't care how great they are. They're just not going to last.
So when it comes to actually building the team, attitude is great, but you also talked about a matrix you use about attitude and skills, A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D, F. A, B, C, D, E, F, A, B, C, whatever it is.
Yeah, A, B, C, D, F.
Yeah.
Just like school.
Yeah, A, B, C, D, F. So A's being the people you want to hire, highest skill set, highest attitude. Like in
Let me see if I get a pen.
B's being lower skills, high, like still high on the attitude. If it were talking about quadrants.
Attitude / culture, skill / productivity. A, B, C, D, F. You see that?
A, B, C, D, F. Skills and productivity, attitude and culture on the axis.
Got it? All right. So A's have high skill, highly productive, and great culture, great attitude. B's are great with attitude, great with the culture. Their skills are not as good as A's. C's might have the same skill set and be just as productive as A's, but they're on the wrong side of the attitude culture line. And D's are a little bit worse than that. And F's And the D could be worse than that, either on the skill set or the attitude or both. And Fs, of course, are bad skill, bad attitude. Fs are easy. Fs are easy. They take the trash out themselves. They generally wash out pretty fast. That's
assuming they even make it that far.
I mean, no. I mean, they're low skill. They're not good at their job, and they have a bad attitude. And it's pretty obvious that you need to exit them from the business, right? The C's and the D's are the most dangerous people in the organization, because the C's and the D's drive away the A's, right? Because they're just as highly skilled as the A's, but they have a bad attitude. And if someone's an A, that means they have options, right? And no one with options wants to sit around working with someone who's got a bad attitude, right? And so the A is like, hey, screw this. If you're not going to get rid of these C's and D's and protect me from these C's and D's, I'm going to leave. I'm going to protect myself. So they drive away the A's, and then what they do is they end up recruiting and enrolling the B's. The B's generally don't have enough experience to recognize the difference between the A and the C, because they have the same skill set. These are both great lawyers. Either of them could be my mentor, and the B doesn't know that they're being quietly indoctrinated into a bad attitude or a negative culture against the firm, because they're enamored with the high skill set of the C or the D. And so they enroll the C's and they enroll the B's, they ruin the B's and drive away the A's. They're the worst. The C's and the D's, I mean. The way that you protect yourself from the C's and the D's and the F's is through you're never not recruiting. You're never not looking to hire someone. You should always be hiring in advance of need. So figure it's going to take you, in most hiring environments, even in hiring environments that are favorable to employers, it's going to take you about 3 months to find the kind of candidates you're looking for, right? Because the thing is, it doesn't matter what hiring environment you're in, it's always the exact same hiring environment for superstars, right? The hiring environment never changes for superstars. It only changes for everyone else. So for superstars, it's always going to be about 3 months to find the people.
Couple interviews, feeling them out, and they got to give their notice. And it's like, and assuming you find them.
I'm just talking about finding them.
Even just finding
them. Just to find them. Because the superstars aren't usually out looking for jobs. You're not posting an ad and saying, hey, superstars, come apply. You got to go find them. You got to literally find them. You got to track them down and reach out to them and woo them. And they're not usually unhappy in their job, because superstars, when they're unhappy with their job, they pick up the phone and they call everyone who's been wooing them and say, I'm ready to go. So you got to be like wooing them and asking everyone in your network who knows a superstar. So you're talking like 3 months just to find, 1 or 2 candidates that you can start to now really interview. And then, you lead, and the way you recruit a superstar is you enroll them in your culture, and you get them excited about your mission, and you show them that this is a great place for them, where they're going to really be part of something that matters to them. Which, by the way, if this is sounding a lot like marketing, that's exactly what it is. Recruiting is marketing.
You're just marketing not for new clients, but for new employees.
Right.
Yep.
So then let's say you get that superstar. Let's say it takes you 3 months to identify them. And then let's say it takes you another 2 months to hire them, 2 or 3 months to hire them, because, if they're a superstar, they're probably doing important work that other people value and depend on them for. And if they are a person who has integrity, they're not just going to say, oh, I'll give my boss 2 weeks notice.
Leave them high and dry. Yep.
Right? They're going to give their boss a month, at least a month notice. I mean, I've had them give 3 months notice. I'll wait, the right person. So let's say it takes you 3 months to identify them, and then you hire, and then another month of wooing and doing the dance, and then they have to give their boss at least a month notice. So you're 4 or 5 months into it at this point. And then your first 30 days, all you're doing is training them. You're not giving them one single lick of real work to do. It's just training for at least for the first 2 weeks if it's a low-level position. If it's a high-level position, more like a month. Our CEOs, COOs, CFOs, CMOs who we bring in, we run them through a 7-week training program. 45 hours a week with full benefits and a $100,000 base just to go through 7 weeks of training. And half of them don't make it through the training, by the way.
Why is the attrition so high?
Because every week we're testing them to see if they're doing the work. Every week we're testing them to see if they're getting it. Every week we're giving them a financial incentive to quit.
Here's $1,000 to leave.
Here's $6,000 to leave in the first week of training. And we tell them every week it's going to go down by 1,000. So the sooner you make the decision this isn't right for you, the more you'll walk away with, and the less it will cost us.
Yeah. Is that bad hire if they're there for 1, 3, 5, 10, 12 months? They're costing you way more than $6,000. Way more. Right?
My point is, when you get to the point where remember earlier we were in front of my dashboard and I was showing you how you can track the utilization rate of the team. Like if you had a 1 to 100 ratio, for example, and there's 90 open cases, you're at 90% utilization, and you're tracking that. Every month you see how many cases did we open, how many cases did we close. And if you're at, let's say, 90 cases, and that's a 90% utilization, and you open 5 cases and you close 5 cases, well, you're still at 90% utilization. But if you open 6 cases and you close 5 cases, now you're 91% of utilization. And you see that number creeping up. Well, holy crap. I can see that in 6 months, we're going to be at 95% utilization. And if one person gets sick, or one person's kid gets sick, or if one person's kid gets a field trip, or anything happens, we're screwed. Now everyone's in burnout at 105%, 110% utilization, which if you're not very smart about it, you start celebrating. And it's easy to celebrate because the cash is rolling in, right? Hey, we got everyone going at 110% utilization. Our labor cost ratio is very, very low, and we're bringing in a lot of extra cash, but what we don't realize is we're slowly burning out and not doing anything to protect the most valuable asset we have in the whole firm, which is the team. So you got to watch this stuff and start recruiting well in advance.
We usually start 3 to 4 months ahead of time before we need them. But
I would suggest you start thinking further ahead.
Ongoing. Yeah, it's longer than most, but it's probably not as far as it needs to be. The whole perspective of always be recruiting is it's more of a unique concept.
Look, when is the wrong time to find a $100 bill laying on the ground? Never the wrong time. Am I right? Okay. When is the wrong time to find a superstar? It's never the wrong time to find a superstar. Because a superstar is a superstar because they pay for themselves. if they weren't paying for themselves and making a profit for you, then by definition, they wouldn't be a superstar. So when is it the wrong time to find someone who can begin paying for themselves within 30 days or so, and thereafter begin generating a profit for you?
It's never a wrong time.
It's never the wrong time. I mean, people hear this and they take it to extreme. Like, well, what happens if you found 100 superstars? Okay, you can take anything and break it if you take it to a far enough extreme. But, the person who is proposing that hypothetical apparently has a map to the Purple Unicorn Ranch that I've never seen.
I've never met 100 superstars in one place.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So as a practical matter, you're always recruiting. Always, always, always recruiting. And you know what? If the day ever comes that you've got too many superstars who you're ready to hire and you just can't do anything with them, then you do what James did and you call me and you say, hey, Arjan, I've got an amazing superstar. I can't use this person. You owe me a giant gift because I'm giving you manna from heaven. And I just hired 2 people who he just sent to me. Sight unseen. I mean, that's because I have a lot of respect for James. If you're lucky enough to have too many superstars applying for a position that you just can't figure out a way to onboard,
there are plenty of other people
who will owe you a big one.
Scoop that up. Yep. Where are you finding people?
Anywhere, everywhere, all over the place.
The antennas are always up.
I'm never not on the lookout to recruit someone. I'm at a restaurant and the server is particularly attentive or particularly articulate or particularly friendly or whatever. I'm going to start talking to them. How long you worked here? What do you like about it? What do you want to do? I mean, I haven't had that much success hiring people out of restaurants. I know other people who have, but I keep trying. My best success in hiring is superstars, no other superstars. So in my organization, for example, my director of programs recruited my CEO because he is her husband. So she was my director of programs first, and then she brought her husband. My outgoing CFO found his replacement as part of his departure. His deal was find your replacement. And then she brought in her daughter for a role that we needed filled. Our COO recruited her best friend and her aunt and her other best friend. And then Julie recruited her wife, Brandy. And then Tanya recruited her uncle.
There's a lot of familial elements. Does it get messy? Does it get messy having that many familial elements?
No, it's not too bad. I mean, when a family gets COVID, the whole family gets COVID. So that's a little
Just get it out of the way.
Yeah, it's a little inconvenient. When the family has a family emergency, the whole family has a family emergency. But let me tell you, I mean, it's great because you find superstars know superstars.
Our current director of operations in the marketing agency was that exact thing. One of our lead project managers said, I have someone who's a perfect fit for this position. And he was. Like, it's unbelievable. So yeah, A players knowing A players.
My former marketing manager recruited her mom, who's now our office manager, who recruited her sister, who now works in our HR department. I mean, it's fantastic because you're hiring people who give you the benefit of the doubt. You're going to know you're hiring people who know there's some accountability if they leave you high and dry with something. You know you're hiring someone who, they kind of understand what you're all about because they've been around on the periphery.
I think there's an element too that's like, you better perform because I'm putting my neck out for you to get this position. So there's a level of like...
That's what I mean by the accountability, exactly.
The extreme ownership almost is a little bit higher.
And then, you go out of your way to really take care of people. So, for example, our benefits package, like we have 125 or 150 employees. Our benefits package is like for a 500-person business. It's like people are blown away with our benefits package. I don't remember all the details, but people are like they can't even believe how amazing it is. And we spend for it. I mean, it's an investment, but it's worth it. For example, another example, we have long-term disability insurance, and then, of course, short-term disability insurance. But there's that period of time between when a person has a problem and the short-term disability kicks in. So we self-insure that, and we keep your salary. Like, you don't lose any money. Your income doesn't go down before your short-term disability kicks in. And then we supplement the short-term disability to keep your income whole until the long-term disability kicks in. We had a guy, one of our business management advisors, who needed a heart transplant. Yeah, I mean, one day he's fine. Next thing you know, he's like in the hospital getting a heart transplant. And it just felt so good to be able to send him a message to say,
we got you.
Your income is the last thing you need to worry about here. I mean, that just felt so good to be in a position to do that for a person.
Probably, I don't want to say indebted to you, but grateful for that. For forever.
Here's the thing. I barely know this guy. I don't have a personal relationship with him.
Sure. It's probably good given where you're at.
Well, what I mean is, you say indebted to me, he doesn't really even know me.
Grateful that he works with the people that he works with.
I'm just making the point because the goal, the point of this should not be that the lawyers listening to this or watching this should be doing this because they want to win a popularity contest.
Yeah.
This is just, it's practical to be good to your people. I mean, we could have a whole conversation about that. About you got to look after your people.
I think in this day and age, it's one of the things that are probably overlooked more. Shirking the bottom line, or like trying to, bolster it up, cutting benefits, doing this or doing that. I think it's probably going to happen more over the coming months.
It's penny wise and pound foolish, because then you get less productive people. You get less productivity out of people. You get less loyalty from people. You get fewer people bringing their best creative energies to their job. Law firms, professional service firms, they are businesses that they depend on that extra creative spark from everyone on the staff. There's no employee who can't bring a little extra magic to the job. Well, if you've got 100 people and each of them is bringing a little extra magic to the job, or if you got 2 people and they're each bringing a little, the really crazy thing is that, particularly for the lawyers who are watching this, who maybe they only have 1 employee, well, that's the person you really need to have bringing a little extra magic to the job. And that's the person who you got to really invest in taking care of and enrolling them in your culture and your values and your mission and why you're doing what you're doing, and get them excited about it. Because that person is going to have a disproportionate impact on your second hire. And then the 2 of them are going to gang up on your third hire and either say to that person, this is how we do things around here, or this is how we do things around here, if you get my meaning.
Yep. Two different, well, the tonality alone is like, pretty self-evident. When it comes to removing yourself more from an element of the hiring and putting people in place, is there an element of fear that because I felt it when I was originally went through this, but I want to know what your experience was for me, is the person that I entrusted with this, are they then making the right decision with decisions that impact the company, with impact the team, impact the culture, the morale, all these other items, when that first hire or two that you're distanced from?
You're asking me, is there fear?
Yeah, well, yeah, and how do you combat that? Because, like, for me, I was definitely fearful of it.
There's fear anytime you're doing something for the first time you've never done before.
Yes.
You're going to have fear. So saying, I'm not doing this because I'm afraid because I've never done it before, you might as well say, I'm never going to do anything I've never done before because of fear. You're always going to have fear when you've done something you've never done before. Join the club. That's how the human race operates, right? Lawyers, I've met, thousands and thousands and thousands of struggling law firm owners whose basic explanation for why they won't do what they know they need to do to create a better future for themselves, and they don't even doubt that it'll work. They say, well, I'm not doing it because I'm afraid. As if that's an answer. That's not even an answer. I'm not doing it because there's air around me. Yeah, so what? What does being afraid have to do with doing what you know you need to do so you can have a better future and you're confident it's going to work? It's scary. Well, then it's scary. Do it anyway.
And for me, the first one was awful. Because it felt like, did I entrust them? Did I give them the right skills? So it's like, with rubber meets the road, like, did I actually do the thing that I said I was going to do and actually do it to ensure the secondary touch point hires, etc., are the right fit, etc. But then taking that a step further, the second one was easier.
But what did you do to prepare yourself to do that? Or did you just abdicate it and say, oh, you seem nice, you figure it out? That's how most lawyers do this. They don't delegate, they abdicate.
Like, best of luck. Like, figure it out. Now,
look, there are a gazillion lawyers out there who don't make a distinction between delegation and abdication. Right? If you can't describe what you want accomplished and what criteria or standards you're going to use to determine whether it was done to your standards, and if you can't give someone some basic instructions on how you want it done and show them how you're going to evaluate whether it meets your standards, I'm repeating myself a little bit, then you're not in a position to delegate anything. All you're in a position to do is abdicate things.
For me, it was the first one was more of an abdication that I got lucky on. But second, third, fourth, etc., was delegation. More systems, more process, procedures, because it didn't quite work the way we wanted it to, but glad it did. And let's refine the process from there. But at least the decision was made.
You engineer the position to be profitable.
Yeah.
What's the job description? What tools and resources is the person going to use or need? What training is the person going to need? And if the person does the job the way we've designed the job to be done, how will this person produce a profit for the business? It could be a financial profit for the business. As we were talking about, our nannies are highly profitable, even though they don't produce. It could be a financial profit. It could be a personal profit. It could be a professional profit. It could be a secondary financial profit because they free up a direct revenue generator to directly generate a lot more revenue, for example, right? But how have you figured out that if everything goes the way that if everything goes right, is this position even poised to make a profit? Number one. Number two, how are you going to measure it? How are you going to measure it so that they know whether they're doing the job the way you want the job done? What score will they be measured by? Number three, what are you going to do to train them? How are you going to onboard them? You know, what fake assignments are you going to give them for the first 2 weeks at least to let them practice and fall on their face, right? And so you give them this, every time you hire an associate, for example, you give them the same exact fake work, same fake assignments, same fake deadlines, same fake everything. Number one, that way you're not losing your crap when they screw it up, which they probably will because it's their first time doing it.
Are you telling them it's fake beforehand?
Yeah, they know this is a practice assignment. But, you know, this is the way most, let's say too many, this is the way too many lawyers do this. Welcome to the firm. Let me show you around. Here, sign all the documents. There's a coffee machine. There's the bathroom. I'll introduce you to everyone. We'll take you for lunch maybe. And okay, here's your computer. Here's your equipment. And tomorrow you come back and I'm going to start giving you some assignments. And they think that they've trained the person. And then they give the person some live ammunition with a real case and a real matter. And they say, here, work on it to get it off of my plate because I'm desperate to get this off of my plate. Well, the reason I'm desperate to get this off of my plate is because I'm already very busy. And so I give it to you. And then when you make a mistake, which you will, even if you're the greatest lawyer in the world with the most experience ever on the planet, you're still going to make a mistake the first time you do something for me, my way, in my firm. Instead of patiently saying, okay, this is part of the training process, and I set aside time to review your work and give you feedback, and besides, it's not real work, so I'm not really worried about it. Instead, they go, oh my God, this is wrong, and they push you out of the way, and they dive back in, and they say, watch me fix it. You're an idiot because you messed up this, right? And you haven't trained the person. All you've done is given them some work to do and then took it away from them. And then you hire the next position and you give them, you know, the first one got the apple case, the second one gets the banana case, the third one gets the strawberry case, and the fourth one gets the peach case, right? Well, the apple case was really complicated. The banana case was really complicated, but they got really lucky because opposing counsel did something. The strawberry case was really, really, really simple. And the peach case was a disaster. And just like the example we did earlier with the paper clips, you now have broken the system because you have no way of knowing if the first person you hired was better than the second person, who was better than the third person, who may or may not have been as good as the fourth person, and you end up judging each of them unfairly against totally different standards and different criteria. So no, I give them fake work with fake cases. They all get the same thing. And I know that this case, this fake apple case, should take 3 hours. Person who comes in, gets it done in 3 hours, par for the course. Person who gets it done in 2.5 hours, doing a little bit better than par for the course. Person who takes 5 hours, I know we got a problem. But if I'm not giving them all the same work, then I have no consistency. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Is it one assignment? Is it 2 assignments? Is it a week worth of assignments? Like, how long is that period going to go on for that you have them in? As long as you need to?
So we've skipped over the whole part about recruiting where we're testing them. We can talk about that later. Yeah. Let's go back to the job descriptions. A lot of these problems are created because people use bad job descriptions. They ask for completely irrelevant things in the job description, and they don't ask for the things that actually matter in the job description. Looking for a litigation associate with 3 years experience. Who cares if they have 3 years experience? Who cares if they have 10 years experience? They got 10 years experience doing the same wrong thing 10 years in a row versus the person who in 3 years has managed to learn how to do 5 of the right things, right? So rather than saying, looking for someone with this credential or this experience, this many years of experience, or a bunch of stuff that doesn't really matter, instead, looking for litigation associate. Must have tried at least 3 jury trials, win, lose, or draw, in the last 24 months. Must have argued at least 10 motions for summary judgment in the last 5 years. Must have, you follow what I'm saying? I mean, get to the specific things you want to know that they know how to do. And then when you are onboarding them, what you're basically doing is you're giving them fake work to see if they actually know how to do this stuff, right? Oh, by the way, when you're interviewing them, you're saying to them, show me the cases you worked on. Well, that's all confidential. No, it's not. It's public record. Go pull it from the public record and bring me the file, and we're going to go through the case, and I'm going to ask you why you filed this motion. Why did you make this argument? Why did you do this? Why did you do that? Why did you make these choices? No, not every practice area is public record like that, but lots of them are, right? So now you have them doing this fake work, and the thing is that the purpose of doing the fake work is not to test them. Everyone gets this wrong. You're not doing this to test them. You're doing this to give them an opportunity to earn your trust.
And how long does that take?
I don't know.
Everyone will be different.
You got a 13-year-old. How old are you? A 13-year-old is a girl, right?
Yep.
Okay. How long did it take her to earn your trust to leave her at home alone for a day?
A while.
Okay.
Yeah. I was coming from the lens of what is the average, like if you were to bell curve it in a practice, call it.
For lawyers, it typically takes about a month. So you got 3 tracks going during this month. One track is kind of history, culture, values of the firm. You're giving them books to read, you're giving them videos to watch, you're giving them song lyrics to listen to, you're giving them, culture stuff. And every week, they're essentially like writing a book report. I read this book, and this is what it meant to me. I watched this video, and this is the lesson I took from it. Holy crap. They took the wrong lesson from that video. This is a problem. Or, wow, I never even thought about that lesson from that video. They had a really unique insight. Or whatever, right? And then you talk to them about it. Just like you talk to your kids. Or hopefully you talk to your kids. I know you do, but I'm talking to
everyone else.
Everyone else.
Yeah.
So one track is history, culture of the firm. Second track is just mechanics. Here is a tutorial on how our case management software works. You're going to have a month to learn how to use it. Here is a lesson on how our scanner works. Here's how our phone system works. Here's how our filing system works. Here's how all the technology works. Here's just how the meat and potatoes work so that when we really set you loose, you are empowered to be productive and use all the tools. We've given you a month to learn this stuff. There are no excuses after that. And then third is the actual substantive fake work, training and testing and that kind of stuff. And the beautiful thing about doing this is not only do you set them up for massive success, but you have an easier time recruiting the superstars when you can tell them that we're going to make this kind of an investment to set you up for success. And then, if after a month they still can't get it, you don't have to wait around and wonder, was it me? Was it them? Was I not clear enough? No, they clearly suck. They got to go.
And you're testing.
Yeah, and you're testing them. Well, no, they might be an F. They might have the greatest attitude in the world. They just can't get it.
Yeah.
and you're testing them every week.
The one of the elements that helped us in doing something very similar to that was documenting all of the processes that we do for any action that occurs more than twice per week. Because there's always going to be one-off little things that you can document, but that's not the priority. Anything that occurs more than twice in 1 week, start documenting all of those first.
I don't know that I've been so formal about more than twice a week, but if this is going to get repeated, I want to write it down so I don't have to keep reinventing it.
Yeah. And so the problem is with some people is actually documenting the process, or I'm too busy or whatever the thing is. So there's a few things that helped us is like just recording a video while they're doing a task. Click by click.
We got lots of videos like that,
then, so they're like literally talking about what they're doing, so they don't have to stop, slow it down, document it. That can be done later by someone who's a lower skill, frankly. But that way there's a video of it, or maybe even not.
And then you don't even need to document it. The video is a document.
Click by click. But some people want to read it.
Okay.
And then having we have a membership site. Let's say obviously you have a membership site. Various business. I have a membership site. We have an internal site only that's just for training.
Yeah.
And so
we're working on that. We don't have that yet. I want to see that.
Yeah. And so that way, if they need to do this particular subset, it's all documented in subsets with videos and step-by-step tutorials in each thing. So they may not go through every lesson, every video, but they know if I get to this thing and I'm lost, I know exactly where I need to go. I know the exact structure I need to follow in a private, members password protected, thing that they can access, whether they're on Zoom in Timbuktu or, in the office.
I'm just laughing because on the drive over here, I was talking with my chief of staff, and she was telling me about a person that we hired recently, and we gave him this assignment. He's had 6 days to watch a 20-hour training video. Plenty of time to watch a 20-hour training video. And another person we hired at the same time as him, actually we hired her either 2 or 3 days before or after. So she's either had 4 days or she's had 8 days. Either way, enough time, right? Today was the check-in. She knows it inside and out. She loves it. She's saying, this is so exciting. He says, well, I looked at the slides, but I didn't really watch the video. Why not? He's like, well, I could probably figure it out. I mean, red flags are flying all over the place. Yeah, exactly. But again, it goes back to a consistent, standardized process so you can measure people against each other.
Something that we could definitely do better across
everyone
businesses
everyone can do better.
But I tell you, that was a huge thing for us, is having the actual training portal they can go and reflect or look back to. Obviously, go through it when they can, but there's a lot.
I want to see that.
Made a world of a difference. But the problem is like, where do I start with that? And the easy thing is like, download a Loom or some video extension on your browser. You can literally click one button, and there it is right there. It can document the entire thing. It doesn't need to be some lengthy, like, gotta hop on Zoom, and then I gotta do this, and then I gotta press record, then where does the recording go, and all the other things.
My wife used to do that with, I don't know what program she used, but way back when our revenues were $200,000 in revenue, which is the point, right? Back when our revenues were like dog shit, my wife started doing that, and we hired this kid. She was 18 years old. Her last job was the editor of her high school yearbook. That was her last job. She came to work for us, and one day, she's just like, she knows stuff. Like, how do you know this? And she said, well, I started watching those videos. What do you mean? She's like, well, I saw the file, and I just opened it up, and I started watching, and I want to learn, so I started watching these videos, and so I can do this, and I can do that, and I can help you with this, and I can help you with that. That 18-year-old kid was with us for 3 years. By the time she left, she was making $80,000 or $90,000 a year, and she was running our events. Then she left, finished college, went to work at Amazon, came back, and was our marketing manager for 3 more years. And then she had this tragic accident where she slipped and hit her head and decided, I'm going to go to law school. And I'm like giving her shit at all times because, like, all joking aside, she was 26 years old. She's making like $200,000 a year with a company car, which, by the way, was a Porsche. And it all started because she started watching these training videos and just started taking it upon herself to learn. That's what you got to do for people. I love what you're doing.
Porsche?
I'm just kidding. You know what? Give people an opportunity where it is your sincere pleasure and it is highly profitable for you to give them a company leased Porsche. Because, you know, she made us millions of dollars.
It's something that does help to streamline it. It makes it easier. It sets your team up for more success.
It also gives you an opportunity to have more confidence when you're giving them constructive criticism. And it gives you a lot more confidence if you have to let them go. Because, you know, a lot of people, and I was one of them, I would hesitate to let someone go because I always was like, did I do enough? Did I train them enough? Did I give them enough? Did I explain enough? Not enough. They have a whole library. All they have to do is take it upon themselves to do something. I sleep at night just fine on everyone that we've let go when they have access to those resources.
Is there, as we wrap dinner up, is there anything else that we haven't touched? Because this is a topic we could talk on for days. But in the context of the talking points this evening, anything else you think we should touch on before we round it out?
For a small law firm owner, I would just say that, you know, it doesn't cost anything to document what you're doing. It doesn't cost anything to write job descriptions. It doesn't cost anything. All these things we're talking about, they don't cost anything. And to say, well, you know, that'll be great. I'll do that when I have a multi-million-dollar firm. No, you're not going to likely have a multi-million-dollar firm if you don't do these things. If you want to have, causes lead to effects. These are causes. The multi-million-dollar firm is the effect. It gets easier because then you hire staff and then the staff can do the documentation for you and all that. But you got to start somewhere. You can start with small things. Just start with anything.
You have to be the stone in the water creating that initial ripple effect. But then that ripple effect can keep going. But you have to be the one to initially do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So other things to say, we covered so much ground. I don't really remember. I was stuffing my face the whole time when I was talking.
And vice versa.
Did you like the food?
It was great.
What did you like the best?
I couldn't tell you the name of half of the stuff, so
point at it.
Actually these. Yeah.
Did you like that?
That was actually great too. All of it. Let's say all of it.
That's picadillo.
Okay.
That's ropa vieja. That's arroz imperial, which is basically the shortcut for chicken and rice. Typically takes like 45 minutes to an hour to get made. This is like the quick shortcut way of getting it at a Cuban restaurant. This isn't the last thing we're doing. This is just the last thing we're doing in Miami.
Yeah.
So why don't we invite people, maybe create a forum or something where people can post questions and we can maybe do a whole other episode where we just read people's questions and answer their questions.
Tackle it live.
Marketing, management, sales, staffing, financial controls.
All of it.
Cuban cuisine, you name it.
Lots of Cuban cuisine. Well, we'll leave it at there for today. Hopefully it's been an awesome ride in this series with us. Hopefully got a lot of value from it. And this is
hopefully they take action.
Actually, that's the more important thing.
Got to take action. Pick one thing. Don't make a list of 100 things. Pick one thing you learned. Just do that one thing.
And after you do the one thing, then you can do the next thing. We call them singular actions. So do the one thing that is like a dividend that can keep having rewards to your business by just getting it done and implemented. So with that said, we'll cut this series off here. Thanks for coming along for this ride, and we hope to see you again soon.
Thanks for coming to Miami.
Yeah. Bye, y'all.